A new video game developer expo is coming to New York's Tech Valley region. One Upstate, a celebration of games and the people who make them, is coming to Albany, New York in 2023. Visit oneupstate.com for more information.
So that point where you get 2.5 minutes into what you think is recording and it's not recording.
Well, it's better 2.5 minutes than at the end, right?
Yeah, that is true. At least I noticed 2.5 minutes in and not 20 some odd minutes in. Which there's been a time where I forgot I was interviewing someone on the podcast and I didn't realize my microphone was off. But theirs was on at least.
Distant background. So
yeah, so I go to listen to it. I can hear them fine, and it just sounds like I'm an echo in the distance. I'm like, shit.
And that was after you left and everything?
Oh, yeah. So when I sat down to edit, I'm like, oh, this is going to take some time.
Yeah. You had to push the levels up, or were you able to do it, or did it?
Enough.
Yeah.
I did enough. I always say my least favorite part of this is my own voice. So at least it was my microphone that was off and not my guest.
That's funny.
But with that, welcome to another episode of Stories from a Bar. I'm your host, Chris Osborne, and for this episode, I'm hanging out at Helderberg Mountain Brewing Company with co-owner and brewer Mike Wenzel. How are you again?
Very good. Thanks for coming up.
Happy to be here again.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat, by the way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming up and checking the place out, and happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's my first time out here. I left like 10 or 15 minutes early because I was thinking I'll stop and get gas on the way. And then I didn't pass a gas station the entire way.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think I have enough gas to get home.
Few and far between up here. There's one within 2 minutes here, so.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I might have to make a quick detour then.
Yep.
But it is my first time up here, and it's really quaint and peaceful. I like this. This is a nice little tap room you have.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, we're far enough away from everything, but still close. We try to be family friendly, pet friendly up here. We got a nice outdoor pavilion. We have music on Saturdays in the summer, and we have food trucks. So it's nice, relaxing atmosphere, and we try to promote that.
Awesome. And even more importantly, we have a nice smattering of beers here that look quite delicious. And before we commiserate about the Rangers, as I mentioned earlier, I think I'm going to start off with the Irish Red here.
Yep. So the Irish Red came about. We originally started brewing at the Maple on the Lake restaurant, which is right over on Warner's Lake, which is 5 minutes from our tap room. Mm-hmm. I homebrewed for about 20 years. I grew up in North Jersey. So after being up here about 6-7 years, we were still brewing beer here, and knowing people and this and that, got wind that the Maple on the Lake, they were always looking for their own beer, like their own beer brand, Maple on the Lake Ale or something like that. And one thing led to another, and Chris and Amanda, who own it, they found out that I brewed beer, and we got together one day, and I brought over a bunch of different bottles of different beers they brewed, and after probably, a couple hours of sampling and everything, and of course you have all your really good ideas, we said...
it's always a couple hours.
Yeah. So we said, why don't we try maybe putting something together, because they had a lot of room in the basement, a little area. They used to have a little place downstairs where it was a little kitchen and snack bar, and the beach used to be open over there. So the kitchen hood was still there and everything, and we were able to get a brew system on the cheap. We just put a small system together, a couple of fermenters, a very small Blickman system, and everything was manual. But we figured we would try it and see what would happen, because if they talked to some breweries, if they contract brewed, they would have to get a whole, say, 7-barrel batch, and they'd have 12 halves that they'd have to lay out the money for, and how fast are you going to go through all that beer without it
a lot
getting
more
too old.
than intended.
Yeah, so we got a small system, and we started the ball rolling with permitting, licensing, and all that kind of fun stuff. And before you knew it, we had our license, and we only had the beer is on tap upstairs at the restaurant. So Helderberg Mountain Brewing Company was born in the basement of the Maple on the Lake restaurant in East Berne back in 2015. It's been that long already.
Wow.
So things went well. The little learn as you go. I never ran a business before. Everybody says, oh, you're brewing beer, so you just brew beer and drink beer. And that's being a brewer and running a brewery. But that's about 25% of it.
I mean, I guess if you're at home.
Yes. At home when it's relaxing and hanging out in the garage, yeah. But just everything that goes into it, ordering ingredients, accounting, bookkeeping, you name it, permits, renewals of, insurance. That I could go on forever about all the different things that I do weeknights now. Having a full-time job and running this place is interesting to say the least. I'm very busy during the summer. So
I'm sure.
After work, I'll go home and eat and might spend an hour or two doing one of the previously listed items just to try to get it done. Wow. So it's winters are off time. Summer, it's very busy, and we're open Wednesday night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoon. And like I said, we have music Saturday afternoon 4 to 7. We have food trucks that goes till the end of September. So it's our busy season. And then we have Sundays where we'll brew beer now and keg beer and that kind of thing. And keeps me busy 7 days a week.
Jeez. What's it like in the winter up here then? Are you able to do a lot of prep for this time of year or anything? Or is not much you can really do?
Yeah, not too much ahead of time brewing or anything like that. We can we'll do some maintenance items. We'll this year we're planning on enclosing the outdoor pavilion with some of the nice heavy plastic siding and putting some heaters in there, so at least we can use that a little longer and maybe have music a little bit longer in the season. The thing up here is with all the campgrounds and the lakes and everything like that, we probably lose about half the population after Labor Day. People close the lake houses, the campgrounds close down, so we probably lose about half the people.
Wow.
So it's mostly regulars at that point coming in. We're open all year. A lot of people don't think we're open all year. They think we close at Labor Day too. But now we're here in the winter, and we'll be able to take more days off between the three of us, owners / employees that work here, and we're able to get some time to, do things at home or go away for a weekend or something like that.
So a lot of winter vacations?
A lot of house projects I have.
Oh, yes.
That list doesn't get any smaller. I'll do one thing over the weekend and add 3 things to the list. So
that sounds about right.
That's the way it seems to go.
I actually just had to restain my deck after a lot of it came up over winter. I'm like, son of a bitch. Yep. And so I went and bought 2 things of stain because I couldn't remember how much it took me. And do the railing and all the little posts in it. Do the first coat on my baseboards and the steps. I go to do a second coat and I run out of stain with like 5 boards left after the first coat. Like, oh, so close.
That's how it works, right?
And it had been about a month or so since I bought the stain. I went to go get the other can, different color.
Really?
It's like, no, are you kidding me?
Is it one of the custom mixed ones, or what is it?
No,
Standard color?
No, it was a standard.
Yeah.
Like I bought I meant to get the cedar. This was like honey gold or something else. I'm like, son of a bitch. Well, didn't happen if nobody knows.
Right.
Except now everyone that's gonna hear this.
Yeah, somebody's over at the house will be looking for those 5
those
boards.
5 boards. Luckily, you can't really tell a difference. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Close enough. Put the table over it, right?
Just move the table over here.
Yeah.
I forgot. So
we were talking.
The Irish Red.
I'm sorry, we got off on our first tangent. So the Finn's Irish Red Ale.
There's more coming.
So their son, Chris and Amanda's son, was born on St. Patrick's Day, and his name is Finn.
Oh man!
So one thing led to another, and I said, "Hey, I got an idea for St. Patrick's Day." So the first time we brewed it, he was actually
he's going to have some rough ones coming once he's old enough to drink.
He was the very first kindergartner to ever have a beer named after him on tap. Talk about bragging rights in kindergarten, right?
Oh, that's going to be great.
Yeah. So that's how that came about. And so now it's a yearly brew. We brew it once a year in January for St. Patrick's Day. And the last couple years, we brewed it on the smaller system. And I had to brew it 3 times because it sells really quickly. So this time we did it on the big system, so we'll probably have it available. Usually kicks in the beginning of August, end of July, August. So,
oh wow.
But it's still one of our best sellers. We debated having it year round because it sells so well, but then that kind of, we'll just do it once a year for
takes
St.
a little bit of the
Patrick's Day.
specialty out of it.
I think so. Yeah.
It's really good, and you don't come across too many reds. So
Yeah.
usually
Well,
when I
thank
see
you.
one, I usually grab one.
Yeah. Thanks. Glad you like it. Yeah, we tweak it a little bit here and there, but it's pretty much been the same recipe since its inception. So.
I'm jealous of Finn.
Oh yeah. It's still got bragging rights.
I know.
Cool, right?
He'll always have that, and I
Yep. So that's how that beer came about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years since the Rangers won the Cup.
I know.
It's been a long 30 years.
So
I think it's time to talk hockey. We should get this out of the way.
So like I said, I grew up in North Jersey. So I started watching the Rangers. I'm going to date myself, but early 70s, started watching the Rangers. I remember when we got the first cable TV in the area, and they had the old box with the slide top on it. And we used to get the MSG network, and my dad and I would watch the Ranger games.
Was MSG a network back?
I don't know if it was on MSG or it was whatever station it was, always broadcasted all the Ranger games. So we'd watch all the games. And one of the other channels was the WSBK in Boston, so we'd get the Bruins games too.
Oh, really?
Well, back when cable was, used to be able to get everything without paying for it. You just paid one price.
Yep.
Got everything.
The good old days at this
Yes.
point. What's ridiculous about MSG is we're considered a Sabres market.
Yes.
So they always get priority over Ranger games when they're playing at the same time.
Horrible.
It's ridiculous. Boston's closer.
Right. Well, yeah. Buffalo's 4 hours. Right. The Garden's 2.5. And Boston's
3 hours.
3.5 hours. So, I don't know who decided that we were Sabres. And no offense to Sabres fans. But I don't know who decided that all of upstate New York likes the Buffalo Sabres.
And nobody likes the Islanders.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's kind of odd, isn't it? But,
It was funny. One Ranger game I went to back when the Islanders were playing in Brooklyn. My girlfriend and I went to go see. It was either when they played Calgary or Pittsburgh. But it was an afternoon game, like a noon game or 12:30. I went to go buy 2 beers right before it started at like 11:55. They're like, we can't sell these to you for another 5 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah.
There's that, and then when I paid for them, 2 large, I think they were Yinglanes. I think I spent maybe like $25 or something like that, between 25 and 30. And then I was looking at the prices for Islanders tickets, because I'm like, maybe it'd be cool to see a game there at some point. My 2 beers were the price of an Islanders ticket.
Amazing. Yeah, it's I noticed that too. You go there and you try to drink it as slow as possible to get your money's worth, right? For what it costs.
Oh, yeah. Still a hell of an experience, though.
Oh yeah, I took my father-in-law on a bus trip to see the Yankees and the Red Sox in Boston because he always wanted to go to Fenway.
Oh, I've been there.
So we took the bus trip out and we were watching the game. I said, "Do you want anything?" He said, "No." So I said, "Let me go get a beer." I went down. I think I got a can of Jack's Abbey Pilsner or something, and I think it was $15. And they don't take cash anymore, so you have to use a card. They don't handle cash. Everything's card or debit card or credit card. So, like, well, that's my 1 beer for the day.
Wow.
Amazing.
My brother and I went to Fenway once. I don't remember who they were playing, but it was like on his bucket list, and he brought me with him. And we sat literally right on the third base, just behind the third base, right on the field almost.
Nice.
Well, we were like second row, but the people in front of us never showed up, so we just moved
Perfect.
down. And they have TVs in the wall there, so you can actually see the broadcast while they're playing. And the color guard came out to sing the anthem. They stood right in front of us, so there we are up on the jumbotron. Like, we're on TV. And then the guy that was sitting next to me caught the line drive that was coming right at us, so I was kind of pissed because they got there super late.
Oh yeah, that's
We didn't at that point. We didn't think, oh, these seats must be open too. No, they came literally 5 minutes later. They hit a line drive right at us, and he got it. I'm like, like, man. But I really thought the Rangers were going to at least get by the Devils, especially after the first 2 games.
Yeah.
They were rocking.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Ranger fan, so I watch every single game. They got the center ice package due to the Sabres issue that we spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It didn't start off good. Then all of a sudden they started playing good. And then at the trade deadline, they picked up Tarasenko, which I was happy about. And then all of a sudden the wheels started turning and they got Kane, who had a known hip problem.
Yeah.
And wasn't 100%. And it just threw off all the chemistry, in my opinion. And every time the Devils played the Rangers, they just kind of shut them down during the regular season. And so I was not happy that they had to play the Devils the first round. Then after the first 2 games, I kind of changed my tune a little bit. I'm like, well, they finally figured it out and got it together. And then the next 2 games happened.
Collapse.
And they looked like they had no idea, and they were done.
I had made a bet with a buddy at the time who's a Devils fan, or like fan of the losing team buys the other a 4-pack of Heady Topper.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, fine. I didn't.
Where'd you go to get it?
That was the thing. After they lost, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna not have to drive to Vermont after the first 2 games.
Yes.
Then the next 2 games happen. I'm like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then they came back, won the next game. I'm like,
Right.
they can't lose 2 in a row, right? Nope, they did. So I texted him. I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to drive to Vermont. So maybe I can do that next weekend.
Yeah.
He's like, I trust you. You don't have to do that. So I ended up going and getting him some Bidens instead because that was much closer than
Oh,
Vermont.
yeah. Yeah? Nice.
Yeah, but I'm like, I regret that bet now.
Well, I don't know. I can't figure it out. But the way they lost the last 2 games was just, I don't know. They
Yeah, that
didn't
was
show up.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Even with Kane hurt, they should have done better than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they could buy the Devils and then lose to Boston or
It's been
something.
a lot of long years being a Ranger fan.
It has. I will say everyone I wanted to lose has lost, though. So I don't really have a horse left in the race.
It was amazing, right? With everything was wide open for Toronto to make their run, right? And then they fell apart. They can't figure it out.
So crazy. And I for decades, that video of all the crazed fans chanting "We want Florida" is going to come back to haunt them every year.
Oh yeah, that was the best thing that could ever happen there. We want Florida. They got them. They're playing amazing right now.
Oh yeah,
Right.
At this point, I think they win it all.
It looks like it. Bobrovsky's back to his Vezina form. He's stopping everything. Stuff he doesn't see, he's stopping. It's amazing. Yeah. And then just the way Kachuk's leading that team and has got everybody on his back, it's amazing to watch. Right?
It is.
How
it really
all of a
is.
sudden they just sneak into playoffs on the last day of the season, and now they're just dominating.
Those are the best stories.
Yeah.
And my favorite yearly tradition of watching Brad Marchand cry. That's always fun for me.
Yeah. It was early this year. I think that was the biggest disappointment of the whole season, right?
Probably.
They break all those records and everything, and then
most wins ever by an NHL team in a season.
I don't know. I don't know how you could be that good and then all of a sudden fall apart.
Doesn't matter up until that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, the same thing happened to, who was it? Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Right? They got swept out by Columbus 4 games.
They were the record holder before Boston did it.
But then they came back and won 2 cups in a row. So
yeah,
we'll keep hope alive.
If it happens after Marchand retires, all right.
Yep.
Just can't stand him. Can't stand him.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Bergeron comes back for another season, and Krejci's the other wild card, right? Those 2 guys.
I don't think they're back.
Yeah.
And the Rangers are going to lose at least 1 key piece. I mean, Tarasenko and Kane won't be around.
I wish they'd keep Tarasenko. Kane, I don't know.
They won't afford Tarasenko. If Kane gets, I know he needs some kind of surgery. He said he wants to come back.
Right.
If he's healthy and he's going to be signing an over 35 contract, maybe it's worth it for a year or 2. Because they'll have, so who knows?
Doesn't hurt to try as long as they're not mortgaging the future or cutting out some of these younger guys that are developing and getting better. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going to move on to another beer, and maybe we should talk a little more about the brewery.
Yeah.
Not sure which this one is. That's a nice golden.
So that looks like it might be the pale ale.
I think you're right. Yeah. Pale ale.
So
Tell me a little bit about this guy.
that beer is one that we've had for quite some time. This is a different version of it, but so growing up in North Jersey, me and my buddy Mo and Glenn, we always homebrewed in the driveway and this and that. And one thing led to another, and we said, oh, let's just enter some beers for the fun of it. And we ended up winning the Best in Show 2 years in the North Jersey homebrew competition, which let us brew on the place that sponsored the competition. It was Crow's Brew Pub. So they're in Sparta, New Jersey. It's Crow's. It's Krogh. And so they sponsored this competition. And the grand prize is you got to brew your beer on their system. So funny story, because at that point we were just doing extract. So we, had the bag of grain. We'd soak it in there for a while, take it out, add the malt extract, and boil it, and add our hops, and that's it. So that's how we brewed, and we didn't know anything about brewing on commercial system. So the brewer / head cook that was there, he got us going in the morning, and he says, all right, there's all your grain bags. They're open. Have at it. You can mash in and everything. All right, cool. So, we're there taking pictures and this and that of us on the brew stand, and we're just dumping the bags in. And he comes back in. He goes, how you guys making out? And he looks at the mash paddle, and it's dry. He goes, how many bags did you dump in? Like, oh, we put 3 in so far. He goes, are you stirring it? I'm like, what are you talking about? So, needless to say, he told us to get out of the way, jumped up with the mash paddle, was stirring it probably for 15 minutes to break everything up. The nice, huge dough ball that we created at the bottom of the mash tun. So that didn't make his day, because he was all sweaty and came back down and kind of told us abruptly, stir the rest of them as you're dumping them in. And so it was kind of
lessons learned.
Yeah, it was like, this is not what we thought it was. But we didn't know, we didn't know what we were doing going in, so we just did the extract brewing. But so anyway, so then we got into the all grain, and we brewed for years on the all grain and all that stuff, and kind of got better and better at it and figured everything out. And so that kind of led to when I moved up here, and then we started brewing up here with new people that I met up here, and that's kind of where everything started. But that recipe was originally hay bale pale ale when we were down there, and now it changed to Hales Cave pale ale, and Hales Cave is one of the caves over at Thatcher Park. So
okay.
Most of our beer names have to do with local area attractions or agriculture, or everything kind of local up here is what we're going for beer names.
Yeah.
We kind of pick local items, farming, parks, roads, this and that. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What got you interested in brewing in the first place?
This
is really good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. One of the homebrew kits that we ended up, I forget, we were out in a store one day and we saw this homebrew kit and we bought it. And of course, that's the hardest thing you could ever make beer on, is one of those little kits. And we had to be early 90s, and down in North Jersey there was 1 or 2 homebrew shops, and that was it. And they were half the size of this tap room, which was really small. They had limited number. You could only make 5 or 6 recipes. And slowly but surely we started building up our system and building up our pieces and parts, and we scratch built everything that we brewed and started finding books and reading, and it just kind of snowballed because we really enjoyed doing it. And we just had the one rule that we found out after a while was we made sure we didn't start drinking till we started the boil, because we had a couple times where we started drinking real early, and that led to disaster trying to dump the mash through colanders and everything and get the liquid out. And so, yeah, but that
again,
was,
lessons learned.
Yeah, that goes back to all the good decisions are made after about 5 or 6 beers. So
at 100%. So we are at the tap room, but you're not actually brewing here. Where is your setup?
So we, like I said, we started over at the Maple on the Lake. On 2015, we started that. We opened the tap room here at the end of 2017. So we quickly realized the following summer that we kind of outgrew this the brew setup over there because the tap room took off. We were selling more beer than we ever imagined we'd be selling. I was brewing every single Saturday, Sunday morning just to try to keep up with demand, and we really didn't have too many beers on. So that went for a year or two. We were kind of looking for another building to expand the brewery, and I talked to Bill Felter, who owns Ceres Brewing Company over in Howe's Cave, and he said that he was looking for a smaller brew system to do seasonals or one-offs, or because he only has a 7-barrel system. Mm-hmm. So if he wants to try new beer or something like that, he has to brew 7 barrels of it. And if it doesn't go well, then you have all that beer with it. What do you do with it? So we started talking and say, hey, we're looking to expand. And we basically were asking him, hey, could maybe we start contract brewing with you a couple of our just core beers, and we continue brewing all the specialty items and everything on our own. And one thing led to another. We had discussions, and he said it would be great if you had your system over here, and I can use your system for the seasonals and one-offs, and you can use our big system for the core beers. So we basically have a 1.5 barrel system that's ours, and we use Bill's 7-barrel system. So we evolved into an alternating proprietorship through the TTB and the SLA.
That's awesome.
So it worked out great because we didn't have to buy a building and a bigger brew system, and it satisfied Bill's need for a smaller system and to be able to do more seasonal beers, one-offs, and all that. Mm-hmm. So it actually is a really good partnership. I mean, we're two totally separate breweries. We're not a combined company or anything like that. But when we brew over there, we actually brewed yesterday, our blonde ale. But when we brew there, it's our brewery. We're the owners of it for that day. And then we own that fermenter that the wort gets pumped into when it ferments out. And then we'll keg our product when it's done. And we load it up and we bring it back here. And we have a big cooler downstairs that we don't store any beer there. Or ingredients. That's all self-contained and on us. So it works out great.
That's awesome.
To be honest with you, especially like I said, we all have full-time jobs, so we're running this brewery on the side.
Yep.
Well, that kind of sounds a little sketchy, but we're running the brewery.
Everything's on the up and up. It's legitimate
brewery, yes. No, but I just running this business and having a full-time job is challenging during the summer, but we're small enough where it's still enjoyable, and we have our beer in 5 or 6 different accounts within a half hour of the tap room here.
Oh, awesome.
We're kind of maxed out, and that's all we really want to do at this point. Mm-hmm. Just to get the word out that we're here. That's always the constant challenge, is how do you get the word out that we get people every single weekend, we never knew you were here. And the band's helping everything because the bands have a local following, or if the band comes from Clifton Park, or if the band comes from Albany, or they come from wherever, they have their following, and people don't even have any idea we're here. So that's always it's tough to get the word out. That
was something I was going to ask, because this is a little out of the way. So I was curious what the clientele is like. Is it mostly locals, or during the summer do you get a lot of?
During the winter, it's locals. It's helped that we're on the Capital Craft Beverage Trail. Mm-hmm. And we're also on the Schoharie Craft Beverage Trail.
Oh, that's right.
Which, because we're only 4 miles from the Schoharie County border here, mm-hmm. So they were kind enough to let us be members.
Actually, the place I passed on the way here, which I didn't realize was as close to me as it was Allied Brewing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they're right down there at the Altamont Orchards and everything. So I know they opened back up for the season. They got a nice place there.
Yeah. So your brewery is set up there. How'd you find the tap room location here?
This building was originally built in 2002, I believe it was, and it opened as an ice cream / hot dog hamburger place. And at some point, they ran that for a couple years. It changed hands 2 more times. It changed hands to another similar business, and then that they closed, and people came up and tried to make a New Orleans Cajun type restaurant out of it and everything.
Out of this place?
I don't think that lasted very long.
Really?
So the building was vacant for 3.5, 4 years before we moved in. It sold at auction. They auctioned off everything that was inside, and then they auctioned off the building. And then the building was vacant for 3.5 years. So we approached the owner, being a New York Farm licensed brewery, we were able to open branch locations. So we said, instead of having just our beer on tap at the Maple Inn, it would be nice to have kind of our own venue to showcase our beers and make a nice little family-friendly establishment here. And we discussed the building with him, and he was open to leasing it to us. So we did some construction in here and just fixed everything up for a couple months and got our necessary permits for this location. And we opened December of 2017 here. And then we ended up negotiating, and we purchased the property almost 3 years ago now. So this is our official home.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What kind of shape was it in when you took it over after being empty like that?
It was completely empty. Everything was gutted. They pulled the exhaust fans right off the roof. They had just little sheet metal covers. The whole building in here was empty. The walls were nicked up. It was just kind of, you could still see some of the remnants of this and that. There used to be a sink back there where that pipe comes up. The counter used to be right by the door. We built that and pushed that back. But wow. So it'll be nice if it was a little bit bigger, but it's nice. It's good for, like I said, for what we're doing and kind of where we're at. And we don't have any ambitions of taking over the world or being in every bar, restaurant, all that. We're kind of happy with what we have. And this is, going to be our retirement. We're all not exactly young anymore. So in a little bit, this will be our retirement. And
I'm getting up there myself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So now we're happy with it. It's good. So little by little, we're fixing.
You guys did a great job. It has a nice little rustic feeling.
Yeah, that was the goal. A little cozy, nice place. And it's not on now, but we do have a real fake fireplace.
A real fake fireplace.
Yes, that's really nice.
So what was the toughest part about getting this place in shape to open then?
Just having the time to put into it. It's, fitting everything in is the challenge all the time. So luckily it didn't really need that much work. All the subway tile was all here. It just needed painting. We built the bar. We have some old parts and pieces in here that actually came from the Maple on the Lake restaurant. So the old restaurant was actually down the road here instead of on the lake where they are now. So that exhaust hood, we aren't using it for anything, but we threw that in while everything was open, just in case down the road if we were, going to just cook some small food or reheat. I mean, we're allowed to reheat items. We can't cook anything from scratch. Mm-hmm. But if we were ever going to put a little oven in there or something like that, at least we put that in. And so we built the bar. These chairs are actually from the old restaurant, tables and chairs. So we painted them and fixed them up a little, and this is about as much as we can fit in here, but we'll put some of the bar stools out at the bar, and it's good. It's nice in the summer because everybody can be outside. In the winter, it gets a little, depending on what's going on here, it gets a little tight sometimes, but we're going to try to enclose the pavilion at the end of this year, so maybe we can continue to
that's a
use it and have more space.
That's a nice large pavilion you have there.
Yeah, it's good. In the summer, we have music 4 to 7 Saturdays. And we have a food truck every Saturday. Like I said, that goes till the end of September. So that's kind of our big day. Mm-hmm. But we're open Wednesday night, Friday night. Wednesday night's usually local night where all our regulars come in and relax and hang out. And we have...
I'd be sitting out there in the grass just drinking and staring at the woods right behind us because it's nice and peaceful.
It is. It's nice with all the trees around. It's kind of secluded back there.
Yeah.
So it's... nice relaxing, but when we have the music, we have a bunch of chairs out back that we'll put out, but a lot of people will bring their lawn chairs or blankets, and their kids will be running around, and everybody has a nice relaxing afternoon. And we have a lot of people that say we come up here, it's so nice and relaxing to get away from everything and take a couple hours after they do their yard work in the morning or anything like that. So it's nice. That's exactly what we're trying to create here. So it's nice to hear that from people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm moving on to another beer.
So that one is probably the IPA.
Yeah, yes. Because I think the other one was... Let's say it's
So
the
I
IPA.
can probably smell it if it's the IPA.
It smells like it.
Yeah, we got 2 beers here we pour that look exactly the same almost. So
Oh, is that the brown?
the brown ale, that's the other one. So the IPA, being that it's similar in color and you're in the shadow a little bit there.
This is the IPA.
So the IPA
This
is
is
more
the
of
brown.
Yep. So the IPA is a little bit more of a Northwest IPA that we have right now. So it's a little darker in color. It's got a nice caramel looking color to it. The
Generous samples, so I've lost track.
yeah. So we want to make you feel at home here.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm feeling good.
The IPA is more of a. It's a lot of our beers have 100% New York ingredients, New York malt, New York hops. We try to use as much local product as we can. There's so much good product coming out of New York State.
And that's great because that's the requirements. What,
60% right now, yes, as a farm brewery. But a lot of our beers, probably 75% of our beers are 100% New York ingredients between the malt and the hops. And they're such good products. The malt is fantastic. The hops are really good. They're planting more and more varieties of hops lately that they've found can grow in this latitude. So it's expanding more and more each year. There's more hop farms now because of the there's so many farm breweries and there's so many people trying to source local ingredients. It's really taken off, and the quality of the ingredients is fantastic. So if we can I'd rather support local farmers and local agriculture than be buying items from, I don't even know what farms are coming from, this and that. At least around here, we know what farms are growing the grain. We know what farms are growing the hops. And it's nice because you can discuss the beer with people that come in and say, hey, this, the grain from this came 50 miles from here and the hops came from Cherry Valley. And that together made this beer, and it's pretty much as local as you can get, which is nice.
That's always fun to hear when you're drinking a beer like, wow, this is all made right here.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the kind of environment you've set up here. What was the community response like when you first opened the tap room here?
More than we could imagine. We weren't sure what to expect, being that we are in a rural location here. But it picked up slowly, and then it seemed like the word got out, and all of a sudden we were having bigger crowds every Saturday and this and that, and we started going through more beer, which led to inevitably where we are today with, what the setup that we have, where we're brewing on the 7-barrel system as well as ours to keep up. And it also evolved with the music. Like I said, a lot of people follow the bands when they're playing. All the bands that we have are all local bands, so they have all kinds of crowds, and all the bands know each other, and it's amazing. And so I actually book all the bands starting in February.
Oh, wow.
And you think you have the whole year without enclosing that. Really, the whole summer is only 20 Saturdays. So I'll probably get 50 emails from 50 different bands wanting to get in here and play. And it's just kind of, we have our bands that were with us from the beginning that we try to get in every year. We try to get new bands in every year to change it up. And we have all different types of music. We have rock, we have country music, we have sort of jam bands, we have, you name it, a little bit of everything. There's bands that, play some 80s, 90s type music. And so there's a little bit, every weekend is different. So it's fun, but some days we just wonder how you sit back and you wonder when we look outside and all the tables are full and the grass area is full and we have a line and we're pouring beers, you're so busy, it doesn't set in until maybe later on Saturday when we're cleaning up. Like, how did we get to where we are? It just, you don't think about it because you're so busy with everything else, I think.
What's it been like for you then to just see the place grow?
It's nice. It's nice that everybody, I think the one thing that people like is our beer selection. We try to have a little bit of everything. So we have light beers, and then we have ambers, reds, browns, then we have pale ales, IPAs, we have stouts, porters. So we kind of try to run the gamut. We also offer New York ciders and wines for people that don't drink beer. It's just nice having people enjoy the beers and enjoy the atmosphere. And just come in as they're walking out and said, "Thank you for a great afternoon." It's nice.
That's all.
And it's kind of what we try to build, and it's nice when things kind of work out.
I was gonna say, it looks like you got 12 beers on tap here, and this is a really great selection. You're not heavy on any one item or anything like that, which is awesome.
We're a little bit lighter now with the summer months, so but we still have the oatmeal stout sells all year.
Does it?
Yeah, we pour a ton of it on. It can be an 85-degree day, and you have your people that they'll just be pounding the oatmeal stout down.
Oh man, that almost sounds unpleasant in that kind of weather. At least for me.
But most people see, it's funny because you'll get the different people that come in for the different bands, and you'll see some people that come in and you can tell that they don't go to craft breweries, and what do you have that's like Labatt's, or what do you have that's like Budweiser? So right now we have a Mexican lager that's nice and light. It's got flake maize in it, so you get that nice corn finish to it. We have a Pilsner, Czech Pilsner on. The blonde ale we always have. So we kind of try to cater to people that really aren't into the craft beer, and at least have something and show them how good a 100% New York crafted beer can taste versus what they're used to, so to speak. I'm not trying to convert anybody, but I'll say, look, you like this style of beer. Here's a little variation on the style that you like, and they come back in for a couple more. So far, so good.
Just the first one's free, just a taste.
Yeah. But we do have a special that we run every time we're open that's over your shoulder there. If you buy one beer for the price of two, you'll actually get your second beer absolutely free. So
that's quite the promotion.
Yeah.
So the name seems fairly obvious based on the location you're sitting in, but what was it about the name Helderberg Mountain Brewery that you're like, that's the name? Or did you have trouble coming up with anything initially, or kicking ideas around?
We kind of threw a couple things around, but when you come up into East Berne, there's signs that say, "Welcome to East Berne, the heart of the Helderbergs." So we kind of, it's the Helderberg Mountains. Now, when I was out in Denver, I got in trouble for saying that I live in the Helderberg Mountains, and they turned around and instantly pointed at the Rockies, and they said, "You don't live in the mountains. These are the mountains." So
it's true. I've been to the top of Pikes Peak.
Yeah,
that was an experience driving up that.
They didn't care for that term. Where you're from, where? But so it's the small area between the Appalachians and the Adirondacks is the Helderberg Mountain Range. So it just kind of, we're right in smack in the center of it. So I figured Helderberg Mountain sounds like kind of a cool name.
It does.
So
it
we
works.
went with it, and something different that differentiates us from, I don't know. It's like I said, all of our names are kind of based on local geographics or landmarks or this and that. So it's kind of went with that too.
Nice. I also like the sign design, by the way.
So that
came up with that.
So that actually, believe it or not, when we came up with the name and decided what we wanted to, I kind of, went on the internet and looked at this and that, different logos and this, and I liked a little this one, a little that one. So believe it or not, my second grade art class actually came in handy when I said, when am I ever going to use this again, with cutting out construction paper and this and that. But I actually got a bunch of pieces of paper and wrote different things in different areas and cut them out and started taping them on top of each other and all that kind of thing. And then we embarrassingly brought it to the graphic artist. And I said, this is kind of what I'm looking for.
That's fantastic.
So it ended up morphing into that, which is a really nice logo. However, if you try to take that logo and shrink it down onto a baseball cap, it becomes a blob. So, which is why we have the second logo, which is on the baseball caps, because there's too much going on, and the logo looks nice when it's full size, and it even has the detail of the antennas that are up on the Pinnacle
I see that
mountain over here are on there. But when it gets shrunk down beyond the size of maybe the front crest on a shirt or something, when you try to get it down hat size, it gets all blurred out. So we kind of have our secondary or 1B logo that we just throw on the baseball caps, and you can probably see it better there.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, so that's kind of just bare basic bones. We had them just make something up for us, and so I don't know, something like just a simple patch or crest with our name in it, and they came back with a little pine tree on there. So I said, it works.
It does. So I'm moving on to the brown ale as we get closer to the end here.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about this guy.
So the brown ale was something so all the early homebrew kits and this and that always seem to have the nut brown ale recipe. So the nut brown ale, I do like the maltier beers. So the brown ale was something that we used to brew home brewing and always tended to gravitate to. The selection of brown ales out now it's somewhat minimal. So that recipe kind of evolved, and for me, one of my requirements is if I'm going to brew a brown ale, it has to have brown malt in there. So that brown malt comes through in the end, gives it that nice toasty, biscuity, unique brown malt flavor, which I think makes that beer unique. And everybody seems to really enjoy it. We have it on year round. Everybody likes it. And like I said, there doesn't seem to be too many brown ales out there. That one's more of a Southern English brown ale. It's more on the malty side. The northern ones have a little bit more hops, but we wanted to really profile the nice maltiness. So that beer, I believe, is 85% New York malt, and then we have the actual brown malt in there from England. So
yeah, that's really good.
But it's something unique and different than that malt really makes that beer, which is what I really enjoy about it.
You don't come across brown ales too often. They're not uncommon, but they're not.
I think
common.
What was it? The original beer, the Pete's, one of the original microbreweries. I'm drawing a blank on it. Oh, Pete's Wicked Ale.
Oh,
that was the brown ale. I think it was, and that was. I think it was a lighter brown ale, but that was one of our first, microbrewed beers that, like, wow, what is this? That was back in the day. There was so many different breweries back, or the early 90s, all the brew pubs and the microbreweries, and then everything kind of went away for a while. I have more pint glasses downstairs of breweries that were around in the early 90s that don't exist anymore. And
it is. Well, I wasn't old enough to drink, so I didn't track them back then.
Right.
But yeah, it does seem like it's been a huge difference just from the businesses I've seen or remembered just being around as a kid as opposed to now. So
right. Well, it's nice now too. You can be regional and you have local followings, and we're the amount that we brew a year is you get Sam Adams will spill more in a day than we brew in a year. So it's just, but we can put our unique twist on the beer like we do and have a little bit of something for everybody and try small batches of 40-gallon batches. Say, let's try this and see how it comes out. Either it works or it doesn't, or we tweak it and we'll do something different with it, but you can experiment and come up with all different kinds of nice recipes on a small scale, which is, I think, advantageous to just beer development and that kind of,
Oh, yeah.
So
funny you mentioned Sam Adams. I did take a tour of the brewery when I was in Boston there,
yes,
which they basically use only for testing.
Yes.
Testing beer. And the most interesting story, I don't remember, they brewed something, I think it was a Hellies they were trying out, which they passed around after. But I guess they brewed one beer there to keep at a local restaurant or something, because it was like the first place that was ever willing to put them on tap. I think most of their brewing's done in Cincinnati, they said, or something like that.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati, and I think they buy that whatever brewery used to be in Tampa Bay or down in Tampa, Florida. Or I think
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have a couple different places around, I believe.
It was cool to see.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, that was a nice tour. The beautiful brewery in the old brick building. It's really nice.
One thing I want to bring up, and I think it's really cool, is your monthly fundraisers for animal rescues.
Yes. So our way of giving back here is, so we have a beer called Four Paws Porter. It's Four Paws. No, it's actually Four Paws, FOR Paws Porter. It's a English style porter. It's on the malty side. We serve it on a nitro tap, and $1 from that, each beer that we sell goes to a different animal rescue organization every month. So we've done cat rescue groups, dog rescue. We've done equine. We've done veterans groups. We've raised money for seeing eye dogs, for therapy dogs, for veterans.
Oh, wow.
So everything is animal related, but it's just something that we've done from the very beginning. And that's kind of every month we'll have events here, or we'll have organizations will come here and set up a little tent or something on a band day and just have their little booth here, or we'll have a dedicated event for some bands have members that are affiliated with some rescue groups. So the Red Wagon is affiliated with the German Shepherd Rescue Group in New York. So when they play here in August, the German Shepherd Rescue Group will have a fundraiser day here as well, and they'll have a booth and raffles and that kind of thing. So it's nice. So rotates monthly, and people that don't drink the porter, we have a donation jar on the counter, and we have a set amount that we send each month to whatever organization that we have. So it's nice. I mean, that's our way of kind of helping out animals. My wife and I, we don't have any kids. We have animals. So that's kind of we've always worked with rescue groups.
I was going to ask, that's super cool. What was the inspiration behind
so we have adopted dogs and cats, and she has a couple of horses that were off the track thoroughbreds and that kind of thing. So we're into the helping out animals and animal rescue and that type of deal. So that kind of just was natural to phase that into the brewery, and people love it. We have people putting money in the donation jar all the time, and people
awesome.
Come. They'll see the advertisements. So we'll advertise in the beginning of the month of which organization that we're helping out for the month and everything. And we get a lot of people that come in just, hey, I saw that you're helping them out, and they'll come in for a beer or two and make a donation, and it's really nice.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
what kind of dogs do you have?
So we have 3 Dalmatians.
Oh, wow.
And we have a little pitty. So, but they're all rescue dogs. And
how are the Dalmatians just attitude-wise? I've heard mixed things.
They're a working dog, so if you don't keep them busy, they'll keep themselves busy doing something.
Okay.
It's usually something you don't want them to do. But as they get older, they phase out of a little bit, but in the first part of their life, they're always going. They're always looking for something to do. So.
Oh, wow. All right.
That's
good. Yeah, my girlfriend and I have a Beagle Australian Shepherd mix, and she's super adorable. Like, she has the head of the Beagle. Yeah. She's Beagle size, but she has the fur of like an Australian Shepherd. So when we wash her, she puffs up like a cotton ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Her tail curls up.
Nice.
And she loves me more than my girlfriend, which annoys the shit out of her.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yes.
I don't rub it in her face at all.
Oh, no.
No.
Why would you do that?
No.
Yeah.
So, do you have a particular favorite beer that you've brewed so far, or is it just kind of flavor of the month?
I don't know. I like the maltier beers, but lately I've been on this Pilsner kick or the light kick. I don't know if it's because the weather changed, but I like IPAs, but the IPAs that we brew here are, I don't want to say normal IPAs, but we have a lot of people that come in and say thank you for brewing a normal IPA. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, but we brew either a California, like a Sierra Nevada style, nice, clean, citrusy IPA, or we do the one that you had. It was a Northwest style, which is clean, citrusy, but has that little dankiness to it from the Chinook hops. Though we haven't done a hazy IPA that I know that's all the rage and everything now, but we haven't done any milkshake IPAs. We haven't done kind of all these different IPAs. I like the standard IPAs of what I grew up drinking. I think maybe that's what it is. But the nice, clean, citrusy IPAs are they're enjoyable, and we don't have a bunch of IPAs on. Sometimes we'll have two, but we always have one, and it seems to always be in that sort of style, like a nice, clean, citrusy IPA.
I like IPAs. It depends the mood I'm in. Sometimes I want something a little hazy and juicy. Sometimes not.
Oh, but I drink them. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. The milkshake one is a little.
I've had like 2 or 3 bad experiences with those where I made it about halfway down the glass, and it just, I don't know. It just kind of wasn't my thing.
Is there something you haven't brewed yet you're itching to try?
We've kind of done a little bit of everything. We haven't done any sours yet, which I know are popular now as well. And we've kind of run the spectrum. What I really want to do this year, I'd like to do a nice traditional Bock beer.
Oh, wow.
And have that next March or something like that. We'll brew it and we'll let it age, and maybe a Doppelbock or a regular Bock. But that was always that nice malty lager style. That's on the list, so that would be the one.
Nice. Any future plans for the brewery? Something you'd like to see where this place goes?
Like I said, we're probably going to enclose the pavilion, and we'll see if we can get a little more time out of it in a bigger space, and we might be able to host additional events at that time. I'd see a lot of paint and sip events, or people like doing trivia or this and that. And unfortunately, inside here during the winter, it's a little too small. So if we could utilize that space, it would be nice. We're tossing around the idea of maybe doing small canning runs of our beers, because right now we only fill crowlers to go or growlers that people bring in. But people ask us for beer to go. We have 16-ounce cans, and there's 2 of our accounts that are asking for our canned beers. So we're tossing that around internally about what we want to do with that. But, like I said, with our full-time jobs and the size of the brewery and what it's evolved into, we're kind of happy with where it is now. And we don't have any immediate plans of expansion or anything like that. So we're kind of just sailing along, making it up as we go.
Nothing wrong with that at all. You love what you're doing. You love where it's at, and it's great.
Yeah, we're very happy with how everything's going. So
yeah, that's awesome. So I think that's a wrap on another episode of Stories from a Bar. So big thanks, Mike, for letting me hang out, taste these beers, and just chat sports and beers. I'd say go Rangers, but the season's over. I'm rooting for Florida now. I kind of want to see them take it.
Me too. Me too. I love the run they're on, and let's see what happens and see if they can finish it.
But I appreciate you taking the time, of course, to hang out and chat.
Likewise.
This has been super fun.
Thank you very much.
If you're not doing it already, be sure to go follow, subscribe, all the things you can do to the social media pages for Helderberg Mountain Brewing Company. Keep tabs on everything that's going on. Anything else you want to throw in?
Everything, band schedule, food truck schedule is on our website and on our Facebook page. And we do regular updates a couple times a week on Instagram and Facebook, and new beers and events and all that kind of stuff. So
awesome.
Keep a lookout.
Huge thank you, everyone out there, for checking out the show wherever you're finding it. I certainly appreciate it. You can, of course, follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at StoriesFAB to keep up with everything coming up with the show. You'll find Stories from a Bar on all the major podcast platforms, so be sure to like, subscribe, and even more importantly, leave fantastic reviews and share the hell out of it. So until next time, cheers.